Hi, this is John Carpenter, and you're listening to the iWalter Show.
Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look, up in the sky, it's a bird brain, it's a plane, it's iWalter. Yes, it's iWalter, strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. iWalter, who can change the course of mighty rivers, bend ears with his annoying voice, and who disguised as Walter Interranti, mild-mannered janitor for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, nonsense, and the American way. And now, another exciting episode in the adventures of iWalter.
Yeah, hey, it's me, Walter, and it is September 5th. Now, this is kind of funny, by the way. Let me turn up all the way my volume so I know it's working. Well, actually, it is working. I just want to make sure I can hear myself. Generally, I can't. Now, I thought it was September 5th, and heaven forbid I was wrong. Okay, I have this mic switch. I've actually turned that off before. I think with Matt, I've actually turned it off and accidentally. No, it's actually, I was thinking that today was Guy Fawkes Day, because it is the 5th of September. And here I was way off because it's actually, Guy Fawkes Day is actually November 5th. Saturday, November 5th. So I have the right day. I just don't have the right month. It's nothing new with me. I had a few things I wanted to talk about. One was, and God, I don't even know where to start. You know, I sat through, thank you, with my friend Matt for almost 10 hours of watching some bad horror movies at this horror fest. So thank you again, Matt. And then I was going to mention, I haven't even read it yet. I haven't even cracked the book open. I actually got it yesterday. And, you know, this should be something I should be able to read. And it's a graphic novel in hardback. It was like $10 on Amazon with free shipping. And it was on Clinton's Cash. It's like a graphic novel of, I think it's based upon a book. But it's a graphic novel version. So I thought it was pretty entertaining just for the fact that it's a comic book written from this, and it's on, a book novel called Clinton's Cash. So I thought it'd be pretty cool to buy just for other, many reasons. I know my friend Matt, and probably I'm going to show obviously this one guy at work named John, the book, because I think it's entertaining. Other things I kind of want to discuss tonight, I'm trying to see if I can find it. There's a girl on, and I kind of felt bad, and I wanted to explain this to my friend Matt Torrance, because I probably didn't do a very good job, because when you leave voicemail, especially on my phone, I don't know what it is, but Verizon is what I have, and it's been having like major issues. I went through, I think, I'm exaggerating, but I must have gone through on the iPhone 6 Plus, the version of the phone. I've gone through literally I'm exaggerating, but not by that much, trust me. A dozen iPhones, like they've replaced them with, and they keep on telling me, oh, these aren't refurbished phones. These are new because they're such a new design. And I mean, I know they put out the 7 and whatever, or 6, the 6S, and then there's going to be the 7 coming out in about a month. But I think it's still a crock of shit. They're probably refurbished, and everyone has had a different issue with it. So, and so part of it's human error, whatever you want to call it, where I have actually broken it myself. That's why I get the accidental damage on my phones, because I know I'm bound to break it or do something. Not smash it as hard as some people do, but I actually, for the first time, I did accidentally drop it. One of my dozen phones, I literally had dropped just right on the corner, and it cracked the screen like a hairline crack right up the center. So that's supposed to be that Gorilla Glass, supposedly. It's like, that's a bunch of crock of shit. If that was Gorilla Glass, it shouldn't have fractured that easily, because it didn't even hit that hard. Mine's in that one commercial. I forget what it was for. I've mentioned this before. I think it might have been for phones or something, where they say, oh, yeah, we do the most stringent test. And they show, like, I think it was for phones, where they literally dropped the phone on pillows. It was some commercial, when phones were big. I forget what it was. So some type of device or whatever. And they So, oh, yeah, and they're being sarcastic, obviously. Yeah, they dropped on a feathered pillow to show you that, oh, yeah, we really try this for stress tests. And it's like, yeah, the stress tests are a joke. That was the butt of the commercial. I can't remember which one it was. So, anyway, yeah, there was this girl, it was like 16 hours ago now, God, and she has been, like, really upset, but her name's Laura, I think it's Croft. And she's not from this country. Or Koff, or it's Korf. And she's a nice girl, but I'll go into that. But she's had some really bad times. And it's like, well, God, I think this generation of being brainwashed and pampered, some people, well, I'll go into that in a minute. So I want to talk about her. And then it was funny because I just told you I got done. I'm going to start probably with that, but in a minute. About this Splatter Fest 5 at the Colonial Theatre I want to. I want to just go on a brief thing. It's going to be a brief show tonight all the way around, I think, for once. Because I don't really have any stories on the table otherwise. But there was this one movie that came up, I guess because I have all these people that are I'm connected to on Facebook, mainly, for like horror links in movies. And it was like one I've never heard of. It's a comedy horror. And it is really, really bad, but the part of it was like actually not bad at all because it's a B horror movie. Let me see. I had it. Queen Kong, 1976, and they were like, it was a parody from England on King Kong. I guess when they made that remake. I forget when that came out. I saw that when I was like 13 years old, though. Not Queen Kong, but King Kong, and it was like it was beyond bad, I'll tell you that much. But the only thing that kept me watching it was you got like for, 70s, chicks from the 70s in these skin tight booty shorts, like their asses were either rounded off from these shorts or hanging out on the bottom in bikini tops and stuff like that. It was like, I'm right there. And they even made it was a B horror movie, comedy horror, not even horror, it was more comedy. But even the person, it might have been a woman in the gorilla suit, they made sure that the gorilla who played Queen Kong had breast. So it was all the way around really funny but bad. I mean, somebody actually gave it, I think, 1 or 2 stars because it was so bad. It was like, this is the worst campy movie I've ever seen. And it was like, yeah, you know why? Because it's originally, the beginning or 3/4 of the movie was designed for men to watch. To jerk off to because, you got all these hot chicks running around. Typical British humor, but it was actually really bad British humor. Usually it's not that bad. And I'm sure a lot of these women look pretty horrendous now, but they looked good back then. One, actually, I recognized her, and she was really hot looking, I thought, but she's like late 70s now or something. I'm trying to figure out now. Because somewhere it said she was the one woman, her name is Rula Lewinsky, and it was like, I thought I've seen her before in Doctor Who, and I mistaken her. I was right with she was on Doctor Who, but I was wrong with the actress and the episode, which is kind of funny. Actually, it's no surprise, believe it or not, for me, because, most British women, I'm sorry, they are British people, not women, but British people in general have either really bad teeth or just have big gaps in her teeth or something. So, I was kind of distinguishing this girl or woman from the gap in her tooth, and I was thinking of this actress, which I can't remember her name, who played in Enlightenment. She played the villain in Enlightenment from Doctor Who. No, actually, this actress did play in Doctor Who, but she actually played, let's see, it was with Peter Davison, which both actresses the one I thought and the one that did play with Peter Davison. He was a short-lived one. Well, he was a normal length of time of 3 seasons. And she played in this particular actress. If you see her and you look her up, she actually played in Resurrection of the Dialects. Now, that was one episode that was interesting. I saw that. That was pissed off England. I think it was the second time it pissed off England. We actually, I think, got a copy of it before England, it was released in England. The episode, that was a 4-part episode called, again, Resurrection of the Daleks. So we kind of fucked ourselves by getting it, though, by the way, because the background sound was missing. So all you basically had was the raw material for the episodes, because, like, actually when we get them all 4, depending on where you watch it. Me, it was PBS. Obviously, that was the only way you could watch it. Channel 12. What was it? There was 2 other stations, like New Jersey Network and some other one. I used to watch it all the time. Well, it pissed me off. At least with Channel 12, they got the copy, and they got like a copy that never went through the audio special effects. Actually, it didn't go through even the visual special effects, if I remember correctly. So basically, you got a raw cut of the episode. So there was no sounds in the background. It was just dead sound, minus the actors saying their lines, and no visual effects. It was horrible. It was really bad, because without that, you take that for granted. Even on a low-budget show like Doctor Who back then, when it was really low budget, because you're talking, I forget when that episode came out. She's 68, though. That's close. God, I can't even... Well, anyway, I can't remember when Resurrection of Daleks came out. Let me see if I can figure out. But it was like, it would have been an excellent episode, because unfortunately it was 1984. I see it now. The thing that really kind of sucked, it was the last episode for Janet Fielding, who was the Aussie on the show, the Australian girl Tegan. And that was her departure episode, was Resurrection of the Daleks, if I remember correctly. So we got fucked all the way around, because there was no sound effects, no special effects. And it was her last fucking episode. So it really pissed me off. And no matter how many times when I watch it, when it was corrected over in the U.S., it still sticks in my mind to this day. It sticks, it's a thorn in my side, because of seeing the original one. I can't get that out of my head that you just lost, even on a low-budget show, I lost my, that image, or that, my imagination taken over for even the cheesy special effects and everything else, because it was raw. I mean, it was really raw, and it just looked so bad because of it. I mean, it's bad enough with the Daleks looking like pepper shakers, but imagine when they're splurting out, supposed to be lasers, and there's nothing coming out. They're literally like, they can't fucking come. So it was horrible watching it, and now that's stuck in my head. But she's like in this movie, let me go back now. She was in this movie called, well, I must have lost it now, somehow. She was in this movie called Queen Kong, and again, it was really bad, but I'm telling you, for most guys up to a point, I think the only reason you would go see, because it was really, really bad special effects. Costume was laughable on the gorilla. Probably, again, it was probably some hot chick inside the costume, I'm sure. Because there were a lot of, like, don't think of, like, chicks the way they look now. Think of chicks from, like, the late 70s and mid-70s, because that's basically what this was. And then you're getting like, wow, you're right. If you think of them like what they look like nowadays, then you're going to say, are you fucking nuts? They're not hot looking at all. Which I have another thing to talk about with these list of films. So I'm like watching this, and it was like, God, I would probably, this would be spank material if I could actually get a copy of this, which I think you can. If you like are stupid enough to want to buy it also, because it is so bad. There's no way around it. Actually, let me look on Amazon, because I'm just curious. Yeah, trust me, I was going to turn it off a couple times, but then when you see, definitely, because I'm an ass man, when you see these chicks in these tight shorts and their, nice little asses, it's like, yeah, I kind of can squeeze myself through this hour and 24-minute movie, or an hour and a half that's so freaking bad. I'll suffer through it with my hand in something else I won't mention. Yeah, so let's see, Queen Kong. No, it's free actually anyway. It's free to watch, so I did watch it for free. I didn't even have to rent it. It was one of these freebies, because I have, for me, because free is for me, because it was actually on Amazon Prime, and I have a Prime account because I use it a lot. So if you do want to buy this film, which probably wouldn't be recommended, minus I probably used it for a couple of pause spots, and that would even be a waste of money. It's like $10, even on Amazon Prime to buy the DVD. So, that would be basically I'm paying taxes, and that's about it. So it actually made, believe it or not, look like it made the special cheesy costumes from the old King Kongs and Godzilla movies. Not King, well, it is a King Kong movie. I meant Godzilla, but there was one where they had Kong, or I think they had to change the name to Konga because that's a licensed issue. So in Japan, they had to change it to Konga. And those are really bad. Those are really, really bad, some of them. But it made those look like blockbuster, Academy Award winning special effect movies. That's how bad Queen Kong was. I mean, it was meant to be cheesy. Now, my friend Matt, if you watched this, I think I would probably put it up there, and even though I've never watched it, was some movie you said you used to watch when you were a kid, and you thought it was kind of hot and sexy, but it was a comedy. It was an Australian film. I think I helped you buy it or something, or at least order it, but, it was some movie you liked. I can't remember the name of it. I do know it's on, I think, Netflix or Amazon, whatever it is, because it's some movie Matt would know. It's an Australian comedy. Well, it kind of reminded me, because he showed me a little bit of it, and it is, I think, again, I'm going to look real quick, because I think I bookmarked it on one of these two paid rental sites in case Matt would be interested. I'll suffer through it with you, because I know it's, a nostalgic film for him, my friend Matt Torrance. But it just reminded me of the same freaking movie, kind of style movie. Matt, the movie I'm talking about, because I can't remember the name right off the top of my head, was with was it Hamburger or something? I can't remember. It was an Aussie film, though. Let me see. Let me put in Netflix first, because I can't actually remember the name of the movie. Because I know if I saw it, when I see it, the name of this film, I bookmarked it with, my friend Matt Torrance in mind, because he's telling me about this movie, and it's like, wow, they actually now have it on, it's either Amazon Prime again or Netflix. It's definitely a comedy, but the cheesiness of this movie of, again, Queen Kong was like at the same level as that. So I'm looking through right now because maybe I can find it. It was like when I saw this, not the one I'm talking about, Queen Kong, but the one my friend Matt Torrance likes. It was like, dude, I have to mark this. I might even have to have you come over and watch it, or give you a way to get into my, allow you to get into my account if that's possible without getting in trouble, and let you just watch it because it's on like my list of movies that are, movies for the month or however long they last on one of my networks. Again, it's either Amazon or it is on, what do you call it, on Netflix, which I think, Matt, you do have Netflix. Okay, I can't find it right now, but I can't think. Something it draws to mind to me was something about a golf, Matt, if this helps you, owned a golf resort or something like that, and it had something like hamburger or something in there. I can't remember. I'm really doing a bad description of this film, because I remember you telling me about it. This was like a film as a kid. It was like, because it had like some milfy woman who basically wanted to have, was very loose, so to speak, and she wanted to, basically have sex with everybody other than her husband. I can't remember much more than that. But this movie that I watch is now something bananas, I think, maybe. Let me put that in Aussie or Australian film with bananas, because maybe it'll come up. Because I'm not doing a very good job. Banana Wars, Bananas, film dictionary nope, can't find it. So maybe, Matt, you can refresh my memory on the name of this movie. I thought it had the word bananas in it. But there was a couple films that Matt liked, and I think they were Australian. I actually bought one of these bad comedy horror movies from Australia, and it was just plain freaking bad because I couldn't rent it. I couldn't watch it. And I don't download it illegally any longer. So I ended up buying it. It was like, God, what a waste of money. I can't even get rid of it because then I found out it was a ripped copy of the actual film, which makes it like physically impossible now for me to get rid of. Anyway, yeah, I would just say, don't expect much from Queenzilla, but it does have some hot chicks in there, I'll tell you that much. But you really will be suffering through just to see those scenes. And you're talking like 1970 chicks, in case you're telling me I'm totally nuts on boasting about this movie, because I am nuts, but I'm just saying. Yeah, there was something else I was going to mention. I thought on that line. I can't. I'm drawing a blank. So, by the way, it is going to be, or it is officially now, it is Labor Day. And yeah, it is, just to reinstate that, yeah, that is a labor-induced thing. Not labor as having a child, but labor-induced in the sense of it was something that the labor for, unions, I should say. The union had forced upon companies that you're going to give us this day off, kind of, labor. That's what I meant by labor enforced. So, yeah, it wasn't something that they initially wanted to give people, but they were forced to. So, the day off. So, I'm not complaining because I do enjoy having off, and having a shorter week. But in another sense, the whole premise behind it is a little bit, disturbing. So, there's another movie. Actually, I'm going to see if I can find that. What is it with, like, all these bad freaking horror movies? Because, again, I have Amazon Prime. I'm going to see if I can find my Amazon Video account. And, because I'm not going to find it otherwise without stopping. Yeah, let's see if I can find Prime Video. I started watching this one film because it looked pretty good. Some horror, like short film horror movies, whatever. And it was like, wow, maybe I'll rent this. That was another one I think somebody kind of introduced to me or had shown me on Facebook. So, and I was like, wow, hey, I'll check this out. I'm going to just go under my videos. And I watched about 5 minutes, and I had to turn. Here we go, Creature Feature, because it sounded really good. Because it reminded me, when it said Creature Feature, I was like, maybe this is like Creature Double Feature. But it isn't. From like when I was growing up, there was this thing that like Dr. Shock and Creature Double Feature would show these old horror movies. Anyway, it says Creature Feature is a horror anthology that is a throwback to classic comic book style horror films like Creepshow in the old horror comics of the 1950s. So it had 16 reviews, even though IMDb gave it 4.3 out of 10, which is horrendous. People who had watched it, it says like 16 people who have actually watched it gave it, 1, 2, 3, almost 4 out of 5 stars. I was like, wow. But these people really don't know what a good film looks like, I don't think, any longer. Because I'm like, watch the first 5 minutes. And I'm saying, why do you think this film is so good? Because it's not even good as being a bad film. And it is horrendous as being a bad film. So that leaves it like -10, or -5, not +5, or plus -4 instead of +4. I will probably try to suffer through it because when it's an hour and 20 minutes, I could barely get through the first. I don't even think it tells me, but I would say about the first 10 minutes. It was just like too long already. But so why would I watch more? It's because it's free, and then if I wait and then I have to rent it later on, I'm going to say, well, you know what? I was going to watch this because this has happened before, by the way. I bookmarked these films that are really bad or interest in films, whatever. And then I wait and I wait and I wait. And then they're no longer, on your selection of free movies. And I end up having to pay $4 or $5 to rent them. And then when I rent them, it's like, why did I rent this piece of shit film? So I don't want to fall in that category. I'd rather just lose an hour of my life, which is the remainder of this film, and just then complain about it than having to pay for it and then really complain about it. So one's a little bit better than the other way. So the best thing to do is just to suffer through it, then get out of my system, I hope, and remember how bad this is, Well, I hope I remember. I'm joking with Matt. I hope I remember that this is bad because you know what will end up happening. Then I will rent it. And there was like, wait a minute. I did see, because I've done that before. I totally forgot about watching a film. And then I end up renting it. And it was like, wait a minute. I did see this film before. And it was really freaking bad. Because that happened. I bought a film like that. Matt, I mentioned this the other day. You remember that? We went to that one horror fest. And, it was this Italian horror film. And I can't remember the name of it now. So, I have it somewhere. And I tried to even I wanted to get rid of it because it was so bad. I think I put it in a stash of crap I got rid of. And, it was just like, they wouldn't even take it at the video store for, like, bad films. So, it was just so bad. And I can't remember what it was. Italian film. Saw it at a horror fest. I wonder if it's on my list of, let's see, what I ordered. Your orders. From Amazon. It was either Amazon or eBay. So, if I don't see it, I'm doing a quick, I'm doing a quick search right now. Yeah, you know what? I don't even see it. So, it's not at least not far enough down on Amazon for me to go any further. And again, it's not a big deal, but it was like a zombie film, I believe. And just honestly, I didn't remember how bad it was. And I forgot. Oh, here we go. It was right on top. Burial Ground. That movie is just beyond horrible. It's just, it really freaking sucks. So, and I bought it without remembering. It was like, wait a minute, I did kind of already, see this film at a horror fest. Now, one of the discussions me and my friend Matt had is I do want to go through these movies now. Italian All-Night Splatterfest 5, and it was over at Phoenixville at the Colonial Theatre last night until just early this morning. Now, I've been really tired from work, again, from working so hard that I slept yesterday until, I believe, thank God, I think my friend Matt might have called, and that woke me up, which was good, because otherwise I would have still been asleep. And was like, fuck, I would have almost slept through the freaking horror fest. So that actually was a good thing. It was either that or my parents woke me up or something. Oh, wait a minute. It was not yesterday. It was today. Something else I got to mention. But it was actually something got me out of bed, and it was a good thing because otherwise I was so tired. And today I slept till like 4 o'clock. And well, obviously because I was up late last night, but that actually helps. Something woke me up today, though. Definitely, yes. So I bought a VIP ticket. I think it was like $55. I didn't really completely get my money's worth out of it, but I did get some food because I shared it with my friend Matt. And you know what, Matt, if you hear this, I appreciate that because I had taken less of a loss than I would have. Yeah, because Splatterfest VIP tickets, advance tickets, which I bought, was $50. And it was basically got homemade meatballs and sausage, and those were really good because I got 2 for my friend Matt and 2 for myself, and they were so hot, like your mouth, like not hot as spicy, but just hot from being cooked very well through. But they were really good. Like you couldn't eat them fast enough because they tasted so good. But at the same time, they were so hot, your mouth, like the roof of your mouth was on fire from like burning through the top of your roof of your mouth, at least with me. So those are really, is it worth the extra? Because I think that the tickets by themselves were, for adults, were $25. It was an extra $25 just for the food. Not really, but that's why I was trying to get as much food as possible so I could give it to me and my friend Matt, so it wouldn't be a total waste. But it kind of was a little bit, but in some ways it wasn't, because you didn't have to run around. I still bought food from the concession stand, but it wasn't that much. It was only a couple bucks. It was nothing that I was going to like lose sleep over. But anyway, they had like an antipasta, and I'm not much for that. Eggplant chili, which I definitely glad I didn't touch it, because I heard the guy said he had chili. I didn't know it was that. Caesar salad I didn't bother to touch, and rigatoni and frizzy. Now the thing, or whatever you say, then they had these intermission snack bundles, and I did get one for me and my friend Matt, and that kind of soaked up a little bit more of the cost. But even that probably got me closer to $25, so I do appreciate that from Matt once again. Because, dude, that would have been money literally that not only am I thrown out of my pocket, but I would have not even made it. Would have been worth the effort of buying it. So I don't mind doing that personally. It's actually from Shorty's Sunflower Cafe and Truck Stop. Their food is actually pretty damn good. You know, I don't like that kind of food that's in warmers and stuff, but the guy makes really good food. Maybe I'm like pushing it because, Matt, you might think I'm kind of exaggerating. No, I actually really did like it. I love those meatballs. Because, see, I grew up, I'm Italian. My mom used to make these breaded meatballs. Like, she put a lot of fucking bread in the meatballs. And I hated those. I can't stand bread in meatballs. I don't even understand the reason for doing that. Because I think she added, that's like maybe her way of making Italian meatballs, is to add egg and bread. And it's like, I want pure meatballs. I don't want bread and eggs in my meatballs. But that's the way I grew up. And they were just disgusting. And it left that thing in my mouth, mind, not my mouth, but my mouth. I just can't stand meatballs. I can't stand Italian food because I just didn't like what my mother made. I'm sorry, Mom. So, yeah, what can I say? But those meatballs were like, God, dude, I would have just been filling up on meatballs. I think a lot of people did. It's like, dude, did you put like in your meatballs some type of like pot or something? Because for some reason they were like, now Matt's going to say, no, I didn't feel this way. But I did. I was like, dude, there's something in there. They're like making me want to eat more of their meatballs. Anyway, that's not the whole thing of Splatterfest. That's just a bunch of nonsense coming out of my mouth right now. So anyway, the movies weren't that great. The one actually I think I might have seen on Netflix or Amazon, because once in a while I'll go through the garbage movies and actually watch some of them just to, get a little bit money that I'm throwing out every month on having, Netflix and stuff. See, because there's certain TV series they have on these networks that it's worth it, but that's only for a short period of time. Like, that's only like 1 month out of the year that I'm making, get any money. And I'm just too lazy, I guess, to cancel out the subscription to Netflix, basically. Amazon I'm not going to get rid of, because Amazon Prime, personally, I actually do use that for buying a lot of stuff that I use every day. And that's like specialty toothpaste products. So I'm really anal about that, no puns intended. And other things, like it's not just normally buying movies and stuff. It is mainly that, but there's other things too on Amazon. But it's much cheaper for me because the amount I buy keep my Prime account. I think it's like a little over $100 a year. Because you got to remember how much you're spending on the shipping, which is always free. And most of the stuff I get, like a lot of the stuff on Amazon, is under Prime. And Prime still, even though they said they're going to change it, most of the stuff I've gotten, I've never got charged for shipping. So if you're buying a lot of stuff, the shipping adds up very quickly. And you can get the stuff, anything, no matter how minute or how small it is to the biggest thing, and if it's free shipping, you're going to get it in 2 days, which is another bonus thing, and that's including Sundays. So I really like that. So anyway, Yeah, the first film was Troll 2, and again, I did see that before. But I think I watched it at home on Netflix or Amazon. The second movie was called Pieces, which I never saw, and it was okay, but me and my friend Matt, we both kind of agreed on this one. It was very boring, though. I think it was Pieces was very boring. I'm trying to think. I think it was, actually. Because, actually, it was funny because I didn't put two and two together. So I have to apologize to my friend Matt that there's this one guy. He's a really cool dude, and he works in the framing department over at, was it Michael's? And he likes a lot of these different types of horror movies. He's actually told me, like, oh, check out this horror movie or whatever. And he's on like an artist, too. He does, like, poster art and stuff. And really good stuff, too. I've seen him do some cool stuff. So anyway, he was there last night, and I was talking to him for like a couple seconds. I said, dude, hey, this is pretty cool, but some of the films aren't that good. And I said, one film, actually, I didn't like at all. It kind of put me to sleep. I had a hard time getting through it. And here it was the same movie he thought was the best movie of them all, which was this movie called Pieces. So that was a movie my friend... well, let me rephrase this. Let me start all over again. Matt and I both agreed this was like the worst, I think, of all the films. And it had like young schoolgirls that were kind of cute and sexy, whatever you want to call it, nude, running around nude, and basically were really loose, basically having sex with a bunch of older men that were high school girls. I think they were high school. Maybe they were in a private school setting. So, it had all the material that most guys would like, but the movie was so freaking boring. Like, I literally couldn't stay awake. And I think Matt even kind of may have dozed off. I don't know, because it was really boring. Now, Matt was asking me, the next movie was the best of them all. And it was funny because it was actually put on the projection screen of the movie theater from a DVD. So we're joking back and forth. Like, yeah, it kind of remind us of one time we seen a film or films like this of adult nature, and it was like that, and you could actually see rewind, fast forward, and pause on being projected onto this movie screen. So it was the same thing again, and but Cemetery Man, honestly, I've seen it a million times. I think it came up on Netflix and on Amazon Prime. I've never bothered to watch it. I kind of just marked it. It was like, well, this movie can't be that great. Now, I'm just going to call it, I guess, it's an older film from 94, so it goes back quite a ways. But it's kind of a British humor, but a British/Italian film. It's more of an Italian film, I guess, but so I'm not quite sure, but I think it was done by I think Matt told me that definitely the one actor was English, and the other actors actually were speaking English, even though they are Italian actors. And it is a very morbid, does portray some symbolism in there, I guess I would say. In that film, I thought, because there's one part I was going to ask my friend Matt, where the guy basically is kneeling down, because that's considered symbolism, at least in novels, and probably definitely in movies, too. They have symbolism, too. Where the guy kneels down, the main character, after he shoots off the wings of this statue of an angel, and he's kneeling down. It looks like the wings are actually on his back, on just the way the film was shot, like that particular scene. And I think that was supposed to be some symbolic thing, that maybe he was like in Death Angel or something, even though he did talk to the Angel of Death himself, or the Grim Reaper, I guess would be the better way. But the movie had like a sexy hot girl in there, and it had its humor remind me a little bit of, like, I'm looking at it now, like Time Bandits kind of humor, definitely that British dry comedy humor, definitely like Marty Python a bit. And I'd actually almost think, but on a more tasteful level, it kind of reminded me of Sam Raimi's Evil Dead, because it was a comedy horror, but it was mostly 90% or more comedy than horror. And it is a zombie movie, and it is called A Cemetery Man. I actually recommend it. I texted my friend Todd, and I said, I would recommend that for him and his brother because they actually grew up watching Marty Python. If you like that kind of demented, twisted, artsy type humor, not saying that Marty Python was that close to being that way, but if you like that kind of thing, you probably would like this too. And I think my friend Todd does like zombie stuff. But this is like, they even said it's a different niche on a zombie movie because it's a zombie love story. But I actually thought, I was actually tempted to buy it. It's very hard to find a good copy that is going to be at a reasonable price. It actually is such an old movie. It's out on, I saw it on VHS and Laserdisc. God, how long ago was that Laserdisc were out? And from what I understand, Laserdisc were actually just transfers from the videotape onto a Laserdisc, but the quality was not anything different. It was just like a way of basically showing off that, hey, I got a movie on a disc, on a thing that looks like a vinyl, literally it was a vinyl, but it was showing video images. But you know what? You got to thank Laserdisc. If it was not for Laserdisc, you would not have the formats we have now on movies, because Laserdisc basically just went from Laserdiscs to DVDs and Blu-rays, and now the 4K. If it wasn't for Laserdisc starting this whole thing, we would have never had the movies that we have today in the format we have. So there was some importance they did play. So yeah, I definitely, Matt, I would recommend and say I did like a lot Cemetery Man. So let's see. The other one was called "What Have You Done to Sloane?" I think I'm saying that probably wrong. Actually, wait a minute. Maybe that was the one that put us to sleep. So I apologize. I actually got to step up 2 films because I mistakenly got these wrong. Pieces probably wasn't a great movie, but it wasn't as bad as I thought. So I apologize about that. So maybe I really shot this guy down a little bit too quickly. Because some of these films were okay. Obviously, probably all of them, minus Cemetery Man, was the best. So let me read, I guess, what Pieces was about, because I've seen you can actually get that. I can watch that again for free this month, at least on Amazon Prime and on Netflix. And probably I also got Shatter, or was it Shatter? No, Shudder. Shudder? Something on Amazon. It's a new horror link that came with my Amazon Prime. And they show, I think it's called Shudder, Shutter. And I think it's owned by AMC or somebody else. And it's basically, they're trying to experiment on like one of those stations, or trying to do their own thing on just a strictly classic and B horror movies, and you pay like $4 a month if you want to get a membership to just that alone. And I have Prime, so it was a lot easier for me to get it. And I can watch it on all my media devices, on my TV set, my big screens for these movies. So it might be on there too. But I saw Pieces come up. It says, "Who is the chainsaw sawing the campus co-eds? Is it burly groundskeeper, one of the professors, a creepy kid, a former tennis star turned homicide detective goes undercover to find out?" So actually, let me rephrase that stuff. I just went off on a big thing for quite a long time about how horrendous that movie was, but actually Pieces was okay. It was much better. So, I apologize a million times over of messing these up. Yeah, Pieces had its sexy points. You had some hot-looking girls in there, trust me. And definitely, I mean, it was funny because I couldn't help but laugh. That's the movie I actually wanted to get. I told my friend Matt I wanted to take some sound bites out of there, because that would be the movie I would, because there's some lines that actually even had me laughing. And I think people laugh because you're not used to that. Usually you see a lot of hey nanny nanny on the women, nude or nude front scenes from top to bottom on women, and then nude scenes of their ass. But this time you actually seen the guy's his Johnson, and I think that was the movie, and that just got people laughing because us Americans aren't used to seeing a guy's schlong on film, and it was just too funny. It was too funny. So that was actually in pieces. So, this other one called What Have You Done with Sloane, or however you say that. That one was really, really boring. That's the one I meant to say was really bad. It was an Italian film. Honestly, like I said, I'm not very keen on a lot of Italian films. I don't think many of them are great. I'm more of a person who likes the Spanish directors and horror, because those are actually, most of the time, they're pretty good. Are really good, I think, whatever. So anyway, this was actually, it said for courtesy of Exhumed Films, which Exhumed Films puts on their own film fest of marathon of horror movies. So that one was, it said Arrow Films, while spending an enormous afternoon with a married teacher, Elizabeth witnesses the murder of a classmate. Now the killer seems to be stalking the student body, and the numero uno suspect is her secret lover. An exclamation point there. So I read that wrong, which I'm not going to say anything either way. Now, that's kind of interesting. Like, when you finally got to the end of the movie, and I was dozing off quite a bit on that one, the one, What Have You Done to, Guess Against Sloane, that movie actually put me to sleep quite a few times. And even my friend Matt, that was the one we both agreed on. So I apologize once again for the millionth time, because that was the one we both said that, yeah, that was the movie that, you had these hot young chicks that were schoolgirls. That's the one I was thinking about. The other one was more of like a college university one level, with the one called Pieces, now, which was also an Italian film as well, if I remember correctly. I'm trying to look. It says Grindhouse. Well, most of these are Italian films. It's called a Splatter Fest, and usually you think, splatter, but meaning murders, but also Italian films are related to the word Splatterfest, I think, in some sense of the word, that even though it might have been an English film, that they're kind of like, Italian directors, whatever you want to call it, or Italian actresses. So the last one was Zombie. That's definitely a classic Italian horror film, Zombie. I remember growing up seeing the commercial for that. I've seen that more than once, and I just can't remember where else I saw it besides last night. But going back up, that one that was actually 1972. The one called What Have You Done to Sloane? I'm probably continually saying that incorrectly, so I don't know what else I can say. That's the best I can pronunciate that, even looking at it, trying to sound it out. So, but it had like a lot of young, looked like private school girls, Catholic Christian school girls that were at this, like, probably high school age, I guess. But you're talking 72. Those women now are probably in their 70s or 80s, even though they were teenagers back then. So, I mean, the thing is, though, you had this teacher, one of these school teachers, who was literally having sex with a student. Or maybe more than one, but they only, because it sounded like it might have been more than one, because you had these Catholic schoolgirls, high school girls, that were basically had a club where they would go out and have sex with older men that were much older than them. Like, you're talking like 16-year-olds having sex with 20 and 30-year-olds, and that was like their whole thing as a private club. And they were Catholic schoolgirls. So it had that sexy, demented, hate to admit to it kind of feel to it, but it was so, again, me and my friend Matt said it was just so boring that we could barely did not keep our interest. And I just try to keep my eyes open. They were getting very heavy watching this movie. And the only thing that was actually really interesting was when it got to the very end and they solved the case finally. It was like, please solve this case. I was saying that after the first 5 minutes, I think, or 10 minutes. Boobs or no boobs, it was just really, really irritating. It was just horrible. So, but when it got to the end, I was like, yeah, well, this is actually kind of interesting, the way that it all came together at the very end. I'm sure somewhere or many places it's probably considered a classic horror film. And they actually said that for that one, that film was a 35 millimeter print, and that was from Exhumed Films. Me and Matt actually has taken me, because I didn't even know about this stuff until my friend Matt actually introduced me to it. So I really appreciate that, by the way. But yeah, what was I going to say? So thank you so much for introducing me to this whole genre of things, because it gives me something actually to look forward to at least once or twice a year, and actually has made me expand into going to other horror fests as well. So I have to thank my friend Matt, because he really definitely helped me introduce me to this world of, movies I never would have looked at before that are pretty cool. I mean, I wouldn't even have knew about these Spanish directors, because that came out of me not knowing that, hey, there's a whole other world out there of horror films. And I have to thank my friend Matt, because I didn't know about other horror besides what, the stuff that comes out of Hollywood. I never knew there was a whole nother world of horror. And there is. I mean, every culture, I might have found it on my own, maybe, but not to the extent that I was exposed to through Matt. So he doesn't realize, but you actually kind of introduced me to a whole different world. And you know what? It's not just because it's horror, but you're getting another perspective on film work from other cultures. Because everybody has their own, their own visionary portrayal of what like horror should be about. Like, you got different cultures, different countries all over the globe, and they all have their own aspect, perspective, whatever you want to call it, of horror films. So that was something I was first introduced thanks to you, Matt. So if you listen to this. But the last one we watched for night, and actually after the first 4 films, I was ready to go home, and I could really care less because I already did see Zombie more than once. So I just don't remember, again, where else I had seen it. So, and that was, it says Italy, even though there were some scenes in New York for a split second. It was 1979, so I distinctly remember seeing the previews for that one years ago, and it scared me. Now, the movie is not that good, but it says Blue Underground, and that was also, thanks to Exhumed Films, that was a 35 millimeter print. So that part's kind of cool. Even though these films, you could rent them for much cheaper, the thing I think is cool is this is what they try to do, these guys who bring these horror films to the silver screen. Once again, they try to look for the actual the actual film reels, REELS, of these movies. And it's not that easy to do, because there's that whole, art and actually getting a hold of those copies of the film. Now, that's kind of weird, because Cemetery Man, I looked up at it right now, it says it was a 35 millimeter print, courtesy of Sundance Collection at the UCLA Film and Television Archive. But I don't believe that, because I'm going to have to ask my friend Matt now, who went with me yesterday, because we saw where it said video. And actually, so they're either lying to us or whatever, but it did look like it was, unless they were showing some intermissions, maybe the intermissions were actually video and not these, because these were all, it says 35 millimeter prints on all the films. So I'm going to go back through these. Yeah, even Troll 2 was a 35 millimeter print. Pieces was a 35 millimeter print. Cemetery Man, again, was a 35 millimeter print, which I didn't know that, but that's what they're saying. I'm going to have to ask these guys. Did something happen? You end up having to get the video of it? So that one, What Have You Done to Salome, was actually a 35 millimeter print. And then the one of Zombie, again, was also a 35 millimeter print. Yeah, it does definitely give you a different feel knowing this, or a different respect. How's that? It gives you a different respect for seeing that. So anyway, again, that movie is interesting. It did bring up one thing to mind about this film because it actually says it in the premise of, telling you what the movie's about. It says, we round out the fest with an Italian horror movie, Fellini's or something, Felucci, I think is how you say it, of his film known as Zombie. But it says, if you've seen Zombie, then you don't need to say anything else. If you haven't, then you need to know can be summed up by 3 simple words: zombie versus shark, and an exclamation point. So I didn't read that correctly. But here's the thing: that whole thing, which I did see this before, by the way. Maybe I rented it. I think I might have rented the film because I know Zombie was one of these movies I've always heard about. It's like it's got a cult following of some sort. So the one thing I noticed, though, because sharks, even smaller sharks, that was a fairly big shark. Not a big, but they got this actor under the water, and he's fighting the shark, and he's supposed to be a zombie. Literally, he's biting, trying to nub at this shark, bite on the side of it. So I don't think you can really train a shark to, you can train certain animals, but training a shark, I think, would be kind of physically impossible. It was a real shark. But one thing that stuck to mind in my mind, and I was going to ask Matt about this, I hate to say it, but it looks like, and I feel bad for that damn shark, but it looks like they removed all its teeth. So, because sharks have razor-sharp teeth. Now, sharks can replace their teeth. They do, not like humans. They're like one of the rare animals that they can actually, their teeth, if they fall out, they always have a replacement set, so to speak, behind there. But you could definitely tell that shark had no teeth. It had gums. And it's why am I mentioning this? Well, there is a thing for film work and stuff that came around, I don't know when, about animal cruelty. And that would definitely be considered animal cruelty if you're just for a horrible film, you pull all the teeth out of a damn shark. Let me see if that's true, that sharks' teeth do grow back. Because I really don't remember. I thought they do sharks' teeth. Either way, that is, without a doubt, that's animal cruelty. 'Cause if the animal depends on, depends on its teeth to survive for, food, how's it going to even eat fish? I mean, it doesn't just live on plankton. It eats other fish. Once in a while it might make a mistake and eat a human. I don't know. So I'm trying to see to let me put it, replace themselves. I think they do. But I just figured that this might be one of these things that, can sharks regrow teeth? Animalsmom.me. Sharks have always gotten a lot of bad press. All right, this might take too long, but I swear it does say that. I thought I seen that sharks' teeth do regrow themselves, but you could tell. I mean, it was obvious they basically that teeth that shark wasn't called jaws; it was called gums. The one in the movie of Zombie, I was like, well, that's no offense, that's animal cruelty. You either make a fake fucking shark, which is probably too expensive. But if you're going to use a real shark, pulling all its teeth out is not very cool in any scale. It's just horrible. I don't care what the animal is. We really aren't, we don't need to be in the ocean. If you're doing it for some cheesy movie, I find that be kind of not a cool thing to do. But, yeah, I looked at that shark, and I kept on looking on the screen. It's looks like that shark has no teeth. A never-ending supplies. Wouldn't it be nice if our teeth replaced themselves whenever we needed a fresh set? No more drills, no more crowns, no more denture adhesive. That's what happens to sharks. So it says, in fact, some sharks replace their teeth every few weeks. So either way, I mean, yeah, given I thought that was the case. Yeah, apparently, yeah, sharks do replace their teeth. Either way, I just find that to be would fall under animal cruelty, and I'm probably not wrong about that. I don't know. And by the way, I'm actually going up on an hour, and I did not take any little mini breaks, so I'll probably just kind of run through tonight. I tried that as an experiment, by the way. So that was my only complaint about the movie. I mean, the movie was kind of interesting of zombie. I'm not a big fan of a lot of Italian horror films. Hey, I'm Italian, but it doesn't mean I have to like the films that come out of Italy. You know, even though my ancestors are technically Italian Sicilian, my mom and my dad. But anyway, yeah, it's just I find that to be not very cool. So, and it did look. I could look that up and see if I'm correct about that. But excuse me, I'm really tired again after sleeping for like 24 hours straight almost. Well, within 2 days, 48 hours, I slept 24 of it. So, yeah, I wanted to just kind of reach out to this one girl. I mentioned this earlier tonight, and I felt really bad. Her name's Laura Croft or whatever. Not Croft, because it's Korf. And this poor girl, I mean, the only reason I know about her, she's a young girl, and was because she actually started her own fan site, and it was actually very popular for quite a while. And I just think she's like a lost kid, though. That's unfortunately. But she got really caught up into Lady Gaga around the same time I did. And again, I think she's like 18 or 19 years old now. She's from another country. But she does, I mean, she has a little bit of a hard time, I think, with, what do you call it, some of writing some of the English words or whatever. But, it's kind of interesting because where she comes from, I guess, most countries, United States is the only one, it's the other way around. Where, that, what is it? I'm trying to think of the right word. Where Americans the English language seems to become the second language of our country, but yet in other countries, no matter where you go, their second language is English. Like they can speak English just as well as they can speak their language, their native tongue. And she would be one of them because, like Laura, where she comes from, she's in one of those. Like, what is there? There's Germany and Austria. Austria. I think they both speak kind of like the same language or similar. So she's like from one of those. I'm going to have to see. I don't know if she has that, but she's been having a hard time sleeping. She says she's having tons of nightmares and stuff. And there's a reason I want to bring this up. I'm trying to see. I can't even pronounce where she comes from. It says she does have posted where she lives. Actually, it says Netherlands. So, but bottom line is she's not from anywhere remotely. She's from Europe, and sweet girl and everything like that. But she got I think she's just gotten a little bit overwhelmed over the years. I did for a little bit. I got caught up into the whole Lady Gaga thing, and I can't wait because Lady Gaga will be putting out something new. But this girl is very gullible, and I think she's, she basically made herself like she's obsessed with Lady Gaga. She still is a bit. I think she's kind of toned down about by 1%, but she's still really, really obsessed with Lady Gaga. So to the point she actually now has got, which is a shame. She's a young girl, but she's gotten all these freaking tattoos, which are identical to the ones that are from that Lady Gaga had, like in the same area. She's got all the Lady Gaga tattoos, and Lady Gaga's got a lot of freaking tattoos. So this girl is just I've been heavily influenced like by celebrities, obviously music stars and stuff, but I never transformed myself to try to be like in their skin, and she literally is trying to do that. So Laura's a sweet girl and everything like that, but I kind of felt bad because it was really close to home today. So I got woken up abruptly from my father. I heard this large, maybe I should just go in this. I can kill two birds with one stone with this one. But I heard this big bang, like something like really just fell. And I'm like worried because both my parents are like 78 years old, or my mother's going to be 78 in the next couple days. My dad is already 78, so he's pushing almost 80. And he's a very hyper man. Like, he doesn't know how to sit still. I think I get that off of him. And, yeah, and it's dangerous, too. He's been always very hyper. He has massive mood swings, my father. So does my mom. Hers actually kind of mellowed out because she's so heavily medicated. But he gets up, even on Sundays. He's been retired for 8 years now, my father. And he gets up every Sunday to go to Mass at our church. He used to go like at 7 o'clock, and that's like way early. It's like, why don't you just go, because you're retired now? Why don't you just wait until afternoon or go the day before? My one friend Todd says, why doesn't he just go on Saturday nights? You know, he's not going anywhere. He's home most of the time. And if they do go out, my parents, they go out to eat, and that's about it. That's their whole life, is where are we going to go eat next? You know, when they're finished one meal, they're already planning their next meal. So, and it's like, honestly, that's no way to live. I mean, I try to do something. Maybe it's not much more entertaining by planning trips and movies and stuff, but it's a little bit more, I think. Not by much, but it's a little bit more. So anyway, since I'm on that note with my father, I heard this big bang, and I think part of it, he's very hyper, for one thing. And number two, he, you know, now he's been getting up at 6. He gets up before that, but he gets up and he goes to church at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's like, but then he comes home and he sleeps for like hours on end. So it's not like a cool thing. It's like, it's not doing him any good. It's actually making him like more groggy, and it just ruins your whole day. Like if I have to get up for any reason that early in the morning, it then ends up being that I can't go back to sleep. I'll be like, my whole day's ruined if I have to do that. So, that's the only reason I personally don't like doing that, but he does. For what reason, I don't know. I think it's just boredom, honestly. And he's very hyper. He's running up and down the steps constantly, my father. If he's not doing that, then he is, what is it? If he's not doing that, it's something. It's something. So, but he's slamming doors. That's what I'm looking for. I couldn't think of the right word, but he's slamming doors. So, and he's running out one door, in the next, out the next. And even after the day, before I tell you what happened, I was like ready to go out. I was just like, I got to get out of the house. There's things I need to really get done today. And I did get it done. I got laundry. Still didn't get gas for my car. It's no big deal. I can do it tomorrow. But I got a lot of like errands done, mainly my laundry, my haircut. Not a great job, but I got it done. But my dad, for some reason, he does things also. I don't know if he realizes I don't think he does. I don't know. Maybe he does it intentionally. But he's very passive-aggressive. And he parked his car in the middle of the driveway. And it's like, okay, I know it's your house, but you normally just back your car all the way in. Today, you decide to park it in the middle of the driveway where you just can't get around. So, like when I'm ready to leave, right before I'm ready to leave, he was somewhere, but he went in one door and out another door, and then in the garage door. Like he was on like we have a bi-level. So he was upstairs. The next minute he is downstairs at his car when I'm ready to leave. And actually I was packing up my car with laundry and stuff. I wasn't even ready to leave because I was going to tell him, hey, listen, can you move your car? Because I'm leaving now. So, yeah, I could not find, I was going to go get him, but I did find him because he was right away when I'm like loading up the car. I hear his horn in one of his two cars start blowing. And it was like out of nowhere, he was in upstairs, I think in his office or something like that. The next second, he is downstairs, outside, at his car, and almost running me over with his car. So, I mean, that just gives you an idea how hyper he really is, if that makes any sense. So, I mean, there's been times it drives my mother crazy because, like, he'll be up in his office area. His little office used to be my old bedroom. And then the next minute, he is locked himself out of the house from going out of our back door patio, and then, trying to get in the downstairs door. Like, he'll go in it does seem like, what do you call it? Whoops. Like, he's got, like, manic depressive, or he's bipolar or something like that, because he goes in one door and out the other door and in the other door and out the other door and slamming the doors as he goes through, running around. But he's like, when I worked in the daycare, basically just cleaning now, but I seen how kids are hyper. He's pretty much like that. He's very hyper. So today somehow, and then he told me what happened. I was like, my first thing was I was asleep, and he woke me up. And what happened was he fell down the stairwell, and we have a mirror at the bottom of the stairwell. He fell down the stairwell, small set of stairs, and it was like, how did you do that? I mean, it could be kind of easy, but when I heard what happened or how he did this, I was really confused. It's like, how did you do this? Or why did you do this, I should say. But anyway, he fell down the stairwell, and what he did was he smashed a mirror on the wall. It's the second time, by the way, in about, I'm trying to think, in the last 2 months maybe, that the same mirror he has broken. So that was kind of weird. And he also went through the wall, too. Like, he damaged the wall. So right away, the first thing was, okay, somebody has obviously, because it was a large freaking bang. So my main concern was, okay, who got hurt? Is somebody hurt, or is it, what happened? Because, my parents are old. So that was problem number one, or concern number one. It was like, and then my dad was like, he was picking up all this glass. He was already started, because I jumped right out of bed not too long afterwards. And he said, yeah, I'm all right. And the glass was all, and it was like, how did what happened? Are you all right? And it was like, yeah, I fell down the stairs, and then, I fell into the wall. The wall caught my thing, and I broke the mirror too. Now, again, this is the second time it's happened. I was like, are you all right? And he says, yeah, I'm all right. And, I guess he appreciated, because my mother comes down. She's up in her bed still. It was like 11 o'clock in the morning. And what does she say? She says, oh, no, the mirror. It's like, you broke the mirror. You broke the mirror. It's like, yeah, well, my father could have broke his neck. That's a little bit more important than a fucking mirror, but whatever. She's more concerned about what do you call it, materialistic things than my father. So it's like, well, I think I'm a lot more concerned about him than the mirror. But then later on, he comes up to me because he's pissed at my mom. Then she's carrying on about the mirror more so than my father. And it was like, and in the wall, because the wall was ruined too, which obviously damaged the wallpaper. So you're going to have to redo the drywall, which he will do. You're going to have to repaper the wall. It's not anything that is not replaceable. It's more replaceable, actually, than my father would be. So that was a concern. But then he tells me, and this is the part that kind of gets to me, though. It's like, he said, yeah, I was walking backwards, taking down the trash can. So we have like this little waste bin trash can. I'll have to show my friend Matt the next time he's over the house, so at least her know what I'm talking about. But he was walking backwards down the trash can with the trash can. What do you call it? Taking the trash to the garage to take out the trash later on, which won't be now until Thursday. So, I just don't understand. I was like, when he said that, I was like, you know what? I don't want to. Honestly, I'm glad you're not hurt, but I don't want to hear anymore. You really made me not want to hear about how you got hurt. I mean, I know for one thing he's just freaking fucking hyper, but why do you walk backwards on a stairwell to take out the trash? Take down the trash to our garage where we have the larger trash cans. We take smaller waste baskets and trash cans and we dump them down in the larger trash can and trash cans in our garage. So again, I heard this and was like, okay, so you were walking backwards with a trash can and you lost your balance and you fell through the wall. And in addition to that, you almost broke your neck. I mean, are you really not thinking or whatever? I hate to say this, but obviously he wasn't. So that was the whole shenanigan, but that woke me up out of bed. And then I'm going to go back to Laura, which I started to talk about, and then I stopped. But again, I don't understand it, though. I don't understand it. I mean, I can understand people when they get older, they're senile, but this is not senile. This is just plain freaking carelessness and boredom. There's a big, big difference. Sorry. I got to see the translation. Sorry, there's something somebody put up that's kind of heart-wrenching. So, so he had me panicking for something that was just plain, I don't know how else to put it, it's just plain stupid. And I'm sorry for saying that about my father, but that really is dumb. So, I mean, thank God he is okay. And then his response was, I didn't get really hurt because, I went to church today. I was like, well, actually, if you went to church a little bit later, you probably wouldn't have been so, because my mother said when he got home, he went right back to bed and sound asleep. And it's like, but that ruins your whole day. Your whole sleep schedule is off after doing something as crazy as having to go to Mass at 6 a.m. in the morning. So, something I would never do. I'm sorry, I'm punching my mic. I'm dumbfounded by it. I don't know how else to put it. I'm dumbfounded why he would do that. Now, another thing is, real quick on that note, I have a woman at work where she doesn't understand, I'll mop, we have these steps we have to clean, and I mop them the wrong way. Basically, technically, I'm walking what's considered on a wet floor when I mop it, but it's because it's a freaking stairwell. And she doesn't understand. She says, why are you mopping this in that direction? She says, you're walking on wet steps. You're going to slip and fall. And it's like, well, no offense. If I mop from this stairwell, these are two, these things, they're these big tanks. And they're metal grated stairs. Believe it or not, you just got to be careful, but it's more dangerous to mop walking down on these mop backwards than it is mopping going upwards where you actually have something to grab onto. And she's totally perplexed why I would do this. And it's like, no offense. The reason I do this is because at least I can catch myself if I fall. And I'm not putting that much water on the steps. So, and there's a reason I'm mentioning this, too. It's like I try to explain this to her, and she never quite gets it. Why you mopping and then walking on these steps after you mopping? It's like, one, I'm not putting that much water. Even if I do, the water is going to just run off the steps. And, I have something to grab onto. It's not that difficult to grab onto something to catch me if I do, accidentally slip. But when you walk from above and you're mopping downwards, your balance is way the fuck off. Like you're literally asking to break your neck. And I got to the point with this one person I work with. It was like, listen, I'm not going to even explain it to you anymore. I'll just do it when you're not looking, because I'm more inclined to break my neck on the way you say I should do it than it would be if I don't do it the way you suggest I do it. So the bottom line is, again, it's the same situation with my father. Walking backwards with a trash can, you have no balance that way. This is what I'm trying to say. You have no fucking balance. You get more balance when you're on a lower level or something and working upwards than you would doing it the opposite way and being on an upper inclined level and trying to mop or take garbage the opposite direction, whatever. Now, they are two different situations, because one is that my dad is grabbing trash and trying to walk backwards, which again is dangerous. But the other thing I mentioned is also dangerous simply because what is it that makes it dangerous is because you're walking backwards, and anything that is being done in a backwards position is actually putting more stress on your back, for one thing. And two, it is creating more of a problem because you can't, I want to say if I'm saying this correctly, but I think this is kind of true. But you're setting off your equilibrium, even though that's like ear balance, or what do you call it? But you're not, you can't walk backwards doing dangerous feats without accidentally falling on your ass or breaking your neck. So the best way to avoid that is have everything in front of you, not working backwards. I mean, I would think to most people, anybody with common sense at least, would say, okay, that makes sense. You're keeping whatever you're doing or taking in front of you instead of in back you, or walking backwards with what you're doing. So I just don't understand people, how they seem to think they know what they're talking about, but they really don't. So I just needed to get that out because, this one person at work, they just don't seem to understand. My father obviously did not understand. But the reason this just brought this home for me is this is exactly like when I do things. I don't want to work and then be walking backwards doing whatever I do, because you're just asking for problems. And again, my dad almost literally broke his neck today. And he did fall through a wall. He fell into a vat of glass, and he said, "Oh, thank God I had on my activewear set, his activewear, with sweatshirt and pants, because he didn't get any of the glass into his body." But, which he could have. But that's not the point, though. The point is my point is this is why I don't walk backwards doing anything. I'd rather walk forward with what I have. And if I'm carrying something down the steps, I'm going to have that in front of me, not on top of me. So, and again, you have more of a chance of not creating a problem when you have whatever you're working on in front of you instead of in back of you, or walking backwards either way. I mean, either one is just, which both situations, let's face it, you're walking backwards. And that is a very, very dangerous thing to do. That's something you do not want to do. And again, I try to explain that, but, it seems like I'm just not paying attention. Well, no, actually, I am paying attention. I'm being, just because something, seems like, okay, well, this is the way it says it's supposed to be done, or, well, look what happened to my father, or this is the way you think, oh, this is the smart thing to do. Well, guess what? It wasn't, because my dad almost broke his fucking neck. And again, the reason I'm mentioning this so many times is I try to explain this to a person at work. that I am not going to work and make it, believe it or not, it's more dangerous what you're telling me to do than the way I'm doing it. You may not see that, but I did. My father, unintentionally actually disproved that fact, that it is dangerous working, walking backwards, doing something. You can't. So I'm just trying to make that clear. So anyway, I do want to go back, and then I'll end my show with that. This, what do you call it? This girl, Laura, what did I say she's from again? God, I got to look that up now. Or can I remember? I'm trying to think. All right, let me see. File. And it's really hot from all my equipment being on. It's not even that much. Because I had her up. Let's see. So, but Laura, she was upset today. She says, I haven't been sleeping all. And there's a reason I wanted to bring that up. And I wanted to kind of clarify it with my friend Matt, why it's kind of interesting with her. Let me see if I can find her. Because I just actually want to know. Laura Croft, whatever. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Okay, let's see where she's from again, because I did forget. Let's see. Info, high school. She's, probably just graduated from high school. She is from the Netherlands. Okay. So the thing that came to mind today, and it actually almost should make my friend and I feel a little bit better, because we're concerned about this younger generation. Because Laura, I think she's 19. Let's see if that's on there, because I didn't even bother to look how old she is. Maybe she doesn't put that. But I know she just celebrated and had it on her birthday cakes and stuff. I think she just turned 19. Maybe she's only 18. I don't know. But, I guess her family, up to a point, was enabling her to do all this stuff. She was May 1996, 2016. So that's an even number. 2016 minus 1996. Oh, she's 20 years old. Well, wait a minute, because it says Aslaur's High School, May 16th, 1996. Maybe she's 20 years old then. I didn't know that. I thought she was only 18, 19. I don't know. It's not even important. But she's very, I've noticed. Oh, making sure. Okay, good. When I don't see my monitor screen on, I'm kind of worried what's going to happen. That, she... Oh, God, I just literally lost my train of thought. So, but yeah, she's very gullible, this girl, Laura. That's easily noticed by her. She's very, very gullible. And she's like this generation that unfortunately, I guess, like most parents around the world, for the most part, they basically, give their kids everything they kind of, want. They just kind of give it to them. They don't even ask. And, or the parents, don't have to ask that hard. See, I'm drawing a blank. I was trying to look up some stuff on Laura, and saw one of her friends. I was curious about it. So I'm trying to just get my mind on an open thing. So Laura, I've noticed for the last 2 years, whatever I've known her, that she's kind of very her parents kind of enable her, but I can kind of tell wherever she is from the Netherlands, she really doesn't have that much money. Like, her parents might have given her a car, but it's not a brand new car. It's kind of a European typical car, but it's kind of ready for the junkyard kind of car. Like, her parents didn't give her anything new. So they can't really do, like in America, that's what I wanted to get to. In America, kids are very spoiled rotten, like beyond the norm. Like they get everything handed to them with no questions asked. And if they do have a problem with something, they'll take a temper tantrum. And that goes on into their adulthood. And, you know, I try to tell Laura one thing. I wrote her, and I think she did appreciate, out of everybody who kind of said stuff, she did comment back and kind of appreciated what I said the most. So, and I kind of told her, I said, you know, because when I used to watch her look at her page once in a while, and again, she overwhelmed herself. She made this fanzine website for Lady Gaga, and she got so much, what do you call it? Fanzine go into her thing that she actually got really upset about that. Like she was overwhelmed by all the people who gave her, you know, attention because of her fanzine website for Lady Gaga. She literally said, I need to step back. This is overwhelming me. So, which is, you know, hey, so she seems like she gets very upset very easily. I've noticed with this girl. So anyway, and I told you already, she got all these tattoos all over her body now of Lady Gaga. She tries so hard. She's so obsessed with Lady Gaga. I don't know what it is. I mean, I kind of grow out of this stuff after a while. I go through these phases. I get obsessed about something, and then it takes a while. It takes a long time, but then it kind of just dissipates, and it goes to something new. I'm not saying that's good. I'm just saying that's what happens. So, but Laura seems like she's really stuck on Lady Gaga and still is. Not as much. I think she's kind of maybe mellowed out a little bit. And, but she's actually, I've seen her actually, I don't know what it's about Europe, but she's actually, I think, traveled as far as even in the States to visit certain people and meet up with, you know, Lady Gaga and more than once and things like that. It's like, well, I don't know where she gets the money from, because I think her parents, even at this point, if she's 20 years old, have kind of, you know, said, hey, we can't fund all your needs anymore. And there's a reason why I'm mentioning this, and I'm wondering if this generation is going to be a large generation of, you know, whatever it's considered, the 18 and 20-year-olds. Because I've seen this with this kid he's Korean, when I went to see a Sabrina Carpenter, where the parents are getting to the point, like even with this Korean kid, and I think this has happened to Laura, where the parents are getting to the point, it's like, listen, we can't get, they finally got to the point, we can't give you anymore. You've exhausted our funds for everything we've just given to you. We finally got to the point that basically you kind of like, I'm trying to think of the right word, you've drained our pockets. We have no more to give you. So I saw this a little bit, and now I'm seeing it again. What do you call it? With Laura, where they get to the point, like when the parents get to a point that, hey, you know, we can't give you any more, that these kids get really, really overwhelmed. Like, you know, like, what am I going to do? I'm not getting everything given to me like I always do. So I saw this with this Korean kid, like, you know, when I was at Sabrina Carpenter, like, I guess he's not, you know, he's used to, he even said it to me. He's a nice kid, but he said, yeah, my mother gives me everything I want, like with no questions asked. And then there were certain things he said, yeah, she's not giving me everything like she always used to at one point, I think, in conversation. So again, we're going to have this generation now that when, you know, the parents finally say, not that they put their foot down, but it's something else. It's not that they're, you know, doing that. They're just saying, listen, we don't have any more money to give to you. We can't have you do these excursions around the world or who knows where else, because you've basically, we're beyond broke now. you just, basically put us in such a hole. So why am I saying that? I'm wondering, I would think, actually, that might be him. He does look, if it's not the same guy I'm thinking of. He's a very talented guy. If it is, the kid from from Korea, I think it does look like him. I'm talking about him, and he's doing something very, very incredible. If it is him. So anyway, with Laura though, I do want to go back to her. If I can find out where it is, her page. She did. She liked what I had to write, and I told her, listen, hey, because I'm pushing 50, and I told her, like, she basically wrote. Let me go through part of this. It's very long, and I've been on for almost an hour and a half, over an hour and a half, and she put it. Started off, she said, feeling broken. Question, I normally don't share things like this on Facebook, but I don't know where else to go, basically, because so many people on here that have been through a lot, she was afraid to mention, but bottom line is, I'm trying to go through the main point, that right now she says right here in one part, she says she's really stuck with her situation, and she says basically, she writes a couple of paragraphs. There's a lot of mistakes in her writing, but hey, I understand. She's writing in English, and some people actually responded back in other languages because she is not from America. But she wrote it in English, I guess maybe because most of the people she admires are from America. But she puts, like some of you, I get a lot of nightmares. I've had at least 4 or 5 a night, and I can't remember. And she says, I can't remember them all. She can actually recite what these nightmares are about. Which indicates to me that they're actually obviously really bad. If she can recite back these nightmares and she's having that many, she's not getting hardly any sleep. So she actually puts in here that she's been going to therapy for this and taking medications. Oh, and she said the medications does not help because help her that much. And I basically said in my experience, I gave her a little bit, told her a little bit about my personal experience of dealing with mental health issues my whole entire life. And I said, I'm a person who is not a firm believer in medications because I think that's just basically a way of putting a bandage on the actual situation. Now, generally, they said medications initially were there just to help ease the pain as you would work through therapy, any kind of mental health issues you might be experiencing or emotional difficulties. Well, guess what? It's gotten to the point, because, I think that's a government thing too, and a lot of it's probably just corporate, I don't know, I don't want to even use that word. I was going to say corporate greed, but that's probably not the best thing. That they figured out, it's like, you know what? We're just not going to even bother working on the root of the problem, which I don't agree with. And we're just going to pump people up with medication, and that's going to be the end of it. And that's exactly what's happened. So for not everybody, but certain institutions, especially these bigger ones, they're all about making the money. They're not about actually physically helping cure the situation. And, I'm a person who has or is speaking from experience. So, literally from experience. So I'm not a firm believer, again, on just pumping somebody up on medication and, oh, yeah, the problem's going to be problem solved. No, because what happens is the issues are still there. You're just basically subsiding them by giving the person heavy medications or a lot of medications. And what happens to that person after years of this being pumped up on medicine and not dealing with their issues? Well, those issues are still there, and they're boiling away underneath, and eventually what happens is that person's going to explode. They're going to be like a walking time bomb that's never been defused. So I told her basically, from experience, I don't believe as medication as dealing with the problem is being the right way to do it. In so many words or less, I kind of told her that. But I said, you are doing one thing that's right, is that she's talking through her issues. So I told her, yeah, that's a good, that's a good thing that, she's doing that at least that right. I mean, if the medication, which obviously she proved me right, she said that that's not even helping her. It's it's not helping her sleep. It's not dealing with the situation. It's just making things worse, obviously, because again, that stuff's subsiding. But there's another point to why I wanted to mention about her, which I wanted to bring up. Again, you got parents who, for so many years, it used to be a thing when I was in therapy, and it was called either the help that helps or the help that hurts. Now, the help that hurts are the ones that the parents enable, which they do nowadays. The parents enable, kids to be basically stay, codependent or whatever. And that's what a lot of what do you call it? That's what a lot of parents do, and it's on a large scale where they're basically giving them what do you call it? They're giving everything they want, no matter what it is. Letting them do whatever they damn well please, and there's no what do you call it? There's no questions asked. It's like, okay, if you want this, you got it. Okay, you're my little princess or my little whatever. If you want it, you got it. We're not going to ask. We can't make you angry, or we can't hit you. I mean, not hit you, but we can't punish you. We can't spank you. If you ask for something, we just got to give it to you. No questions asked, because we don't want to make little Johnny or little Mary or whatever upset. So we're going to do and give you everything you want. And if you start crying, we're going to give you candy and ice cream or toys. And every once in a while, then these parents, when they finally get to the point that they can no longer handle doing things the politically correct way, what ends up happening is the kids really start to just either have problems or flake out. Now, I'm not saying this is what's true with Laura, but I think what is happening, she was used to, I think that her parents kind of enabled her to do whatever she wanted to do and entertain this whole fact. Now, she's hitting almost I don't want to call it rock bottom. She's hitting reality a lot quicker than the younger generation is. Some of them are. I think this one kid from Korea slightly hit it, but I think this girl, Laura, has just hit it so hard that she doesn't know how to deal with it. And it's coming out with her nightmares and stuff. But, because I looked at, for the past 2 years, all these drawings, and she's painted a refrigerator. She's painted her car up with Lady Gaga stuff. Her parents let her go overseas to Lady Gaga things in America and other countries, and let her just, basically stalk the woman and do other things, and with no, maybe you need to kind of slow down your obsession with this Lady Gaga thing. They entertain her. She's made cakes and other things for her grandparents. I've seen pictures of that. And her parents that have Lady Gaga all over it. Christmas presents, birthday presents, Lady Gaga. I mean, it's just, it's even for me, it's way overwhelming, the amount of stuff that she's so obsessed with. So, sorry, I didn't mean to move my head so quick. I was checking the time, and it is almost 2 hours with no, even 10-second breaks. So I think now that's kind of slowed down just because, and then the tattoos, the tattoos that look exactly like Lady Gaga's, all that stuff is kind of taken slowly. It's starting to kick in that, okay, this is too much. You're 20 years old, if that's the fact, We can't afford it anymore. We can't afford to enable all this stuff. And she's not as bad. That's the thing. She is not as badly, even though it is a lot, believe it or not, it's not as bad as some of these kids in the U.S. that are being pampered much, much worse than her. I mean, she's not even scratching the surface. Wow, there's something written on, and it's going to take me off track that I just saw this now on Cinema Blend. It says Suicide Squad is dethroned in another major superhero movie at the box office. Get details. I was going to go see it again. I never did, so I don't know if I will at this point. Maybe I will tomorrow. I don't know. I doubt it, but you never know. Probably Man of Steel, it looks like. Suicide Squad might have dethroned that. I'm not going to read it, but if you want to look at it, I just posted it, but it's on Cinema Blend. Just look for that story, and it's titled again, because I want to go back to Laura. Suicide Squad is dethroned in another major superhero movie at the box office. Get the details now, so if you want to read that, so that way I'm not wasting my time. Oh, and by the way, I heard Yoga Hosers people have checked it out already. It is out in certain areas. In Philly, I think is the closest I'll get to see it, and I'm not going to travel all the way down the city to see some movie like that. I'll wait till it comes out on video. I'm sorry. I will not do it to go see Yoga Hosers. I apologize, Kevin Smith. I saw this before. This girl. Now, here's another demented, fucked up thing. Yes, it's a hot-looking girl, but she burns a dog alive with a blowtorch. This is no joke. I've seen this a long time ago, but it went back up again. And it's not a pretty sight if you're, an animal lover. I don't care who it is, or what it is, but because I'm not a big dog lover, but that is just ridiculous. That is fucking ridiculous. But whatever. So. Anyway, with Laura though, I'm kind of glad she's getting to the point now. I just feel kind of bad because from personal experience, basically. But yeah, she's finally gotten to the point though, very quickly at the age of 20, which is probably that is pretty fast. That her depression, her what do you call it? Her nightmares, because I told her, I said, she kind of appreciated, because I think I got closest to what she wanted to hear with me, of what do you call it, of getting some type of support or answer, and probably the reason is because I could relate to what she's going through right now. Now, the situation which caused it may not be the same, but I could definitely relate to what she was going through. So she actually reached out to me and responded back. So basically what her thing was, again, is she is, again, having nightmares, a lot of nightmares, and what in the world is this? Sorry, I'm watching something. But these nightmares are coming out from, what do you call it? From a lot of stress. And my guess is, this is my educated guess, and I kind of try to do this when I wrote her back in public, public view. If you go on her Facebook page, you will see what I wrote. But what it is what my guess is, the reality I told her, I said, the way I explained it to Laura, I'll try to do it the same way. I'm going to try to remember what I said. But she's kind of used to, when you're a kid, and this is true for, any generation. This has happened from everybody who's, been a child, a teenager, and then you go into adulthood. And again, this is the truth, I think. I'm taking it from my perspective, is like when you're younger, the worst thing you worry about is the way you dress, for girls and guys, fitting in with other peers. That's your biggest goal. Basically trying to find yourself as well. And, just trying to, besides being socially accepted, finding a boyfriend or girlfriend. That's your whole life. And then buying like certain materialistic things like your clothes and what clothes you're wearing. Are you wearing the right clothes so people won't pick on me? But that is the major thing that is your worries when you're, a teenager. Now she's past, like, she's coming out of her teenager years, and she's becoming, a young woman. And I told her, I said, now where your stress is coming from, especially, this is what I've been trying to bring up. I just got to check again, make sure I'm still getting recording. But she's leaving that whole thing now. Like some kids, they are in their 20s and 30s and still getting enabled by their parents. And obviously this is not happening for her. Where I'm looking at something right now where there's a blind cat. Like literally it has no eyes. So it's pretty cute how the cat is being taken care of. I'm sorry I had to throw that in. But yeah, now that she's not, being as much, I guess the parents, again, kind of cut the strings a lot quicker than the kids in the U.S. get them cut. And, she's starting, I think, is my guess, and that's what I kind of explained to her, your transition, and I told her, you're kind of transitioning over from being, basically a teenager where your concerns were obviously on something else than, where before it was obviously on Lady Gaga and being cool and fitting in with the kids, to now, you're entering a stage that you're more worried about being a young adult. The stresses of being a young adult. For her, it's going to be more than, taking on responsibilities as an adult is like finding a job you can support yourself probably. Perhaps also, what do you call it? I'm trying to think. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank, but it's more than what she's and because I could tell by somebody who's having nightmares like this, there's obviously a lot more going on. But yeah, that I'm trying to think what else. Because if her parents aren't enabling her anymore to do all this stuff, the reality's going to set in. Like, maybe her parents gave her the warning, like, hey, we're not going to do this. So, am I making any sense? Probably not, because I'm not making sense myself. But, I thought I was going to do. I had this in my head. I was going to do a lot clearer, but obviously I'm not doing a good job now. That she's faced now, because I'm looking like on these pages of some girls I met at these comic conventions, and they're in their 20s, a little bit older than Laura, and they're still pretty much being enabled to act like children. But Laura's has obviously stopped, and because of that, she is she's facing the consequence of things that are very scary to her. Responsibility. Most adults don't ever face because they're still being enabled by their parents. Now, am I being a hypocrite about that? Maybe. To the extent that most people are, and that I see, like even at this horror fest, probably not that bad. I put myself a little bit better situation, or other places where I see people in public that, they're grown adults, but they act very infantile. And, but I try to explain to Laura, and I think, again, she appreciated it. I said, listen, I've dealt with, since I was 12, with having severe nightmares, and then having what's called, even at a younger age, having what's called waking nightmares. And that actually caught her attention, too. She says, yeah, I have those, too. So, and generally, that is caused by major stress. And it's not on who am I going to make to be my girlfriend, or for girls, who am I going to make be my boyfriend? How can I be in with the cool kids? No, actually, that wasn't the stuff even back then that was an issue. The issue was, back then when I was younger, it was about being severely harassed and picked on. But as I got older, there's other things too, like death. Definitely living situation. How am I going to survive? How am I going to live? I'm trying to think. More important things than just frivolous. What do you call it? Things that are shallow. So I've actually grown out of that stage, and now she is too. I think she's beginning to realize. Well, wait a minute. I'm here on my own, and I need to deal with this shit because nobody else is out there who's going to be helping me. And I think what it's caused her, or what it has created for her now, is so much stress that she's actually having nightmares. And like a lot of nightmares. So, I guess for her, the party's over. The good times. She's not one like myself, and probably my friend Matt and my other friend Matt. I don't know. I'm just guessing. Like other people, we've kind of, to a small extent, maybe more for my other friends, more than me, have had to face reality, a lot quicker. And when you face that reality, that's when the depression and, the other issues with mental issues start to like quickly surface. When you have somebody else enabling you all the time, that's never going to hit home. And why I even bring that up, though, is like I wonder if this is going to happen even more so now. As this is what I wanted to kind of get out in probably like an hour ago. This is what's going to happen like in the near future with this younger generation of people. Like I'm looking at this picture right now. It's this girl named, no offense, I have to mention her name, but Ashley Foxwell, and She's a 23-year-old woman, but she looks like a 12-year-old little boy. She acts like a 12-year-old, and she spends 100% of her time, it seems like. Even though she went to school, she said she went to school for law or something like that. But she spends literally, it seems like, at least from her Facebook page, 100% of her time going from one comic book convention to another comic book convention, and her mother takes her. Because I remember the time I saw her, her mom takes her there, and she's always in these costumes of Robin from Batman and Robin, the same one, and then she changes it up once in a while. But now she thought it was kind of cutesy and funny to like take pictures of grabbing guys' asses and having like standing next grabbing guys' asses, which her mom enables her to do this shit. This is the part that pisses me off. And guys kind of like love this, but she looks like a little boy. I've seen her before. She went through this phase of acting like a child, because I looked at her Facebook page where she actually looked like a young lady. Now she just looks like a little kid all the time, and she gets very entertained and amused by doing this stuff. But why am I bringing her up now? Why am I actually mentioning her name? Well, because it's people like herself and other ones where the parents enable these people to stay that way like indefinitely. And then what will eventually happen is if something happens, heaven forbid, to these parents, these kids are going to be like Laura, but at a much later stage in life, where these kids are going to have nervous breakdowns, or they're just going to go nutso. I'm not saying Laura did. I think Laura's fortunately hit this reality train a lot quicker than most will ever do. So there is an important thing. I mean, it's something I think I probably still do, but I do it a lot less. But I did for years, and I'm not saying I have stopped, but not to the extent I used to. Fight tooth and nail about being responsible for your actions, or to take responsibility for being an adult. Well, no offense, but you got all these kids out there, or adults who act like children, that, you know, they're not growing up. And I saw that today, actually. I went out to, you know, be responsible. I took some laundry to the laundromat instead of doing it at home to use all my dad's, you know, bring up his water bill. I've actually, again, I've said this before, but been given I'm over 2 hours now. Been giving my parents like some money, you know, to get things done, you know, because they help me out. So in a course of a week, like I give them what's called like a, you know, money towards board, like I give them money, but then by the end of the week, before I even give them money for another week, I end up giving them like an extra up to another $100 in addition to whatever the board money is. So I'm paying as much money almost that I could get a cheap, not a nice one, but a cheap. At this point, I'm giving out as much money as I could have a cheap apartment on my own, because that's what I'm getting up to at this point of giving them money. See, the point of living at home is you're actually, you know, making out well, and you know, the money is, what do you call it? You know, the money you're saving, you're putting away. But no, I'm doing it to be considerate too. Don't get me wrong, because, you know, minus, again, I've mentioned this before, minus my parents drive me crazy, they're also keeping me a little bit, or a lot of bit, afloat at the same time. So it's like a twofold thing. You know, you got to take the bad, I'll say in reverse, you got to take the bad with the good. And that being the bad is, you know, even though they may be driving me crazy, they're actually, in another sense, they're actually keeping me from going like stir crazy, from being like in an apartment all by myself. So again, there's you got to think of both sides. But that's the only reason I still stay around the house, because again, I've said this the other day, I could easily move out of the house if I really wanted to. Like, you know, especially the amount of money and stuff I contribute to the house. If I put all that money into renting an apartment, it would be probably just about the same, maybe a little bit more. Yeah, so, well, this poor woman. Look at this picture. This lady might be another one who, they're starting to do that now, of who had suffered some horrific burns on her body. Heroic policewoman whose face was ripped off by in a gas explosion has tried to stop a man taking her own life, proudly wears her uniform again. So that's pretty cool. There was one story I read where a guy actually, it's been pretty successful, got a complete face transplant. That's pretty weird. But yeah, I mean, I didn't mean to go off this long about this, but yeah, I guess the moral after an hour of talking about this probably is that I would think this is starting to catch up. This is starting to catch up to like this generation that like what happened, it might happen to more, is what happened to Laura, where, you know, the reality is setting in, and when it does, what does it lead to her? And mine is like from stress from work, but she could relate to it that she's going through the same situation. Now, the circumstance might be different for her than me. Mine's from stress from my job, stress from, everyday life of not being able to deal with people on a everyday what do you call it, on an everyday basis. Like I feel very uncomfortable around other people. I just feel more comfortable with being by myself. And that causes a lot of stress, which that stress to me turns into waking nightmares and hallucinating and depression and suicide. But for her, obviously, again, what I was trying to point out, I probably already said this several times, hers is from basically now having to face being a young adult, where most people, they don't experience this any longer. And I think if they did, this wouldn't be even a problem for, it will be a problem for others. And that's going to be another thing they have to deal with when like, even I like to call it this gravy train that's going on with Obama being in office. When this stops, there's going to be a lot more Laura's out there where these people are going to be like, when reality sets in. And this is why I wanted to bring this up, by the way, too. Now I remember. And the thing is, I said this before, and I think, Laura, thank you for kind of proving this. And I don't mean to harp on this, but I am, actually. But I don't mean to. I really don't. But, I said this before to my friend Matt. I said, if you take like these people that are dependent on, what do you call it? On welfare and EBT cards, free cell phones, free housing assistance, and all their means of entertainment away. They're going to be, it's going to be, again, it's going to be a large society of people, even in our country, because that's going to eventually happen. We're going to get somebody finally, hopefully, eventually, some point in time, or it's just going to happen for other reasons, where, the government's no longer going to be able to give you everything you want. You're not going to be silver spoon. Free cell phones, basically almost like free housing, very luxurious cars that you don't really even have to pay. You can basically lease them, but don't even worry about it, because we'll give you the cars eventually of your choice for free. We'll allow you to reproduce, and we'll just pay for your children, and then we'll pay for those, your children's children, we'll pay for them as well. When that all stops, and that will eventually happen, this is what I think is truly going to happen. It's going to end up like what's happened to Laura, and these people are going to be like not knowing what to do with themselves. They're going to be depressed. They're probably, the bad thing is it could be actually even dangerous if that happens. Or, they're going to be like, they're going to be a mess. I'm not saying that the girl Laura is, God love her. But this is the direction. This is direction we're heading right now. And, how long can this last of just giving out things for free and people? I mean, I'm telling you, like last night, I went to this this event and this horror fest, and I see a bunch of, like, literally, it feels like to me, some adults, but even my friend Matt was saying that either people don't bathe properly, or basically, is that a depression, or they don't care? Or I just experienced, because I got up quite a few times, I always like to get up in between films, where these people are just like very childish, like they're pushy. I've heard that from other people, like people are very pushy, very, they're very hyper, like my father. They don't care about anything except their own needs, their own personal needs, and they're very rude. they're be as obnoxious and as rude as possible. Like years ago when I went to special events, and I'm not even just, I'm using that as one example, what I went to yesterday. But I see that everywhere nowadays. I just don't see it at special events. I see it everywhere. But years ago, when I was growing up, it was bad with like kids in high school, but in everyday life, you know, people would say, when I was younger, you'd say hi to somebody, and they would say hi back, how are you doing? You know, even maybe hold a small conversation to the point you wanted to walk away from them. I don't know, but they would do that. And, I mean, when I was down south, I've actually noticed that. When I was down south a few years ago, where people, you know, will go out of their way to hold a conversation with you, if you like it or not. Maybe you don't want to be bothered with, but they're going to hold a conversation with you or ask you how you're doing. And what I'm trying to say is even when I was younger, the same thing held true for when I was, you know, going to these Doctor Who conventions. Like, the whole thing was I met a bunch of people that it didn't last for the amount of time I was in a line for a photo shoot, you know, wasting money on that. It lasted the whole entire time I was there, where they would, you know, talk to you, you know, ask, you would maybe exchange phone numbers, you know, talk about everyday life things, nothing to pertain to why you were originally came, like these Doctor Who events. I mentioned this before. The one time some girl, young girl, I was only a teenager too, but a teenage girl, you know, she held this thing at her parents' house. And it was just a get-together to have a bunch of people to watch some episodes, you know, from PBS of Doctor Who, and, you know, basically talk about, hey, what's going on in your real life? Like, people you don't even know. You got to know total strangers. I mean, literally, you got to know total strangers. And it was fun. It was a way of, you know, to me, that was a way I would find new people to talk to, or maybe even make new friends. But nowadays, it's not there anymore. Like, it's like a whole different thing. And I do blame a lot of this on the way people have been brought up now. Like, the sense of what used to be considered being paying respect to other people is no longer there. You know, there is no such thing as, oh, you should respect your elders, you should respect your peers. Yeah, that's not happening. That's not happening at all. So, but what does that do? How does this pertain to Laura then? Well, how it pertains to Laura is that, not that she's this way, I'm sure she's a very nice person, is one thing, people don't know how to communicate with people in real life. That's problem number one. Because you have people, and I've noticed this over the years, what used to be, people would be able to talk to each other in person. Because I met up with some girl one time. I think it was a girl I friended or whatever and met in person. And it was more than one, I think. Maybe not that many. That I met on Facebook, or maybe it was the other ones that were years ago. I can't remember now. Because, God, it's been so long since there was that other social media. Or maybe it was from school. I can't remember, because that actually also happened. Where, you know, I hung out with this, not the one that my friend Matt Torrance knows, but this other girl in one of my classes. She wanted to hang out. She had like a thing, I guess she had a crush on me. And when I finally she got to hang out with me, it was like, she didn't know what to say. Well, I know I've done that, actually. Honestly, I've done that on people once or twice, that it actually happened on, like, online. That, you know, I don't do that anymore, but, you know, you meet up with somebody and they don't know how to communicate with somebody that is physically standing in front of them. So, but if you put a keyboard, a monitor, and a computer in front of them, then they're talking your ear off, but not like literally. They're talking your ear off by texting you what they want to say because they don't know how to communicate. Like they don't even know how to physically, I'm not even kidding, not even know how to open their mouths. Like it's like a strange feeling. It's like it should be that other way around. You should be more uncomfortable being open with people in online than you are in the public. But it's unfortunately that's the way it is now. So, and that also leads to problems that I guess when you see people, when you go out, people don't know how, they have their small little cliques. The girls have their boyfriends, blah, blah, blah. But they don't know how to, interact with other people. And I find that to be a big problem because, I see that at my job too. Like, you can't even communicate with somebody. Okay, what do we need to do today to get our job done? It's like no answer, walk away, put your eyes down on the ground. Okay, so how's this being productive or even tell me what I need to do for my job? Because, it goes that far. It even goes into my job with people acting like that. And, all the way around in the job situation, it's just plain and simple. It's unprofessional. In the real world, it's not productive, and it's just, one thing is I know my one friend Todd was saying something about somebody like this. Oh, at his job, he had his last day at his job, and they hid from him. They actually did not even acknowledge his last day at his job. They actually ignored him, he said, until he left. And he said he felt that was very rude, and he was kind of really upset about it. He did tell me that, by the way. He did tell me he was very upset that, wow, on my last day of work, everybody hid, did not even say, hey, enjoy, hey, we loved working with you, blah, blah, blah. But it's, again, this is the kind of society we live in now where people have, they communicate through, I'm looking at these pictures too, it makes me think of this one woman I haven't seen in a while put anything up, but people really communicate through their cell phones, through their other media devices, but never in person. And I don't even know how relationships even exist anymore with some of these people because they obviously, have a very short, level of who they communicate with. And it's like the person who they basically, nowadays, I guess it's called hook up with. And that's as far as it goes. It doesn't go any further. And that's kind of unhealthy. That's actually, honestly, that's really unhealthy. But this is our society nowadays. And I guess a little bit of a little scratch, a little light in at the end of the tunnel is seeing this girl, for me, is this girl, Laura, who, somebody out there, believe it or not, that does mean a lot to me. One person who's actually, reality has hit them and they don't like it. Like it's causing them a lot of disruption. Now, I'm a little worried about her, too. Don't get me wrong, because somebody who gets, is having this many problems, it's going to lead to, and hopefully it doesn't. I'm praying for her in this way. Hopefully she won't, harm herself. That's the thing that kind of concerns me about this girl. And mine is on the internet. That's as far as I can reach. That's as far as I'll ever be able to reach. I'll never see this person and say, hey, it's not that bad. I can't even put my hand on her shoulder and say, don't worry, things are bad for everyone. You're not alone on this problem. So anyway, that's one thing I guess I went off for actually almost 2 hours and 20 minutes on was with Laura, but for different reasons too. Yeah, it was just kind of, and the thing was actually, it wasn't as long when I texted her back or commented back. I didn't even text her. I just commented back on her thing, which obviously, again, she really appreciated. Somebody out there who is not going to, say, oh, I know what you're going through, or, come up with like on Facebook or give some analysis that is, basically has nothing to do with, the only one who really knows what she's going through is herself and somebody who has experienced the exact same thing she has gone through herself. And, that I can actually say I've been dealing with problems, illness, mental health issues for my whole entire life. So this is nothing new to me. This is like second nature. So, yeah, so I think she knew I was being sincere, and she obviously liked what I had to say because of, understanding and not just saying that I do, but I really do. So anyway, I probably had taken that a little too far with Laura, but I just kind of, wanted to kind of reach out, I guess, even though she won't listen to it, reach out to other people who probably have experienced similar things to like myself, and probably obviously what Laura's going through. And yeah, all I can say is it's not fun. So everyone, since this last hour has been just nonsense, I really do need to probably end this tonight's show and get things done tomorrow. I actually have to fix my phone, my phone with Verizon, because it does not work correctly. But yeah, I apologize. It's end up being a 2 hour and 20-minute show of me just socially babbling on, hopefully about something that people will get something out of. Maybe not. I don't know. So everyone, have a good morning. It's like 3:30 almost a.m. So have a good morning. And if you're in the U.S. listening to me, obviously, please have a happy and safe Labor Day. And I will leave it at that because I don't want to go into the political views of mine because you're not going to appreciate them. So thanks again. This is Walter from iWalter, and I am signing off for now.